And I think we are live. What is going on, everybody? Got a little background music here. What's happening? We'll give everybody a couple minutes to jump in and say hi. I see we already got stuff going on in the chat. We scroll back just a little bit. Who we got so far? Johnny Bean. What's up, Johnny? How you doing? Polly. Nice to see you. Andrew. Merry Christmas to you too, bro. Guitar Talk Universe. How you doing? R2, R3. It's always a pleasure. And my friend Kurt. Kurt, cheers to you. A little holiday sip. Yosinator, what's happening? Thanks for jumping in. Andrew Russell, hello. Janice, how are you doing, Janice? Jason Romero, how are you doing? Good to see all you guys. So I know it's been a long time. It's been, I think close to a year since I've actually done a show on my channel. And we definitely wanted to go live and just say hi. And boy, what a year, huh? We're already into the wintertime. Unbelievable. I got married. So that was pretty cool. Back on October 26th. It was an absolute beautiful day. If any of you guys follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll see some of the pictures. And yeah, that Jessie, I tell you, she's a lucky lady. Lucky lady to have me. I'm a lucky guy, actually. But anyways, I just wanted to go live and say hi to everybody. And we'll go through. I'll try to keep up with you guys as much as I can. I thought we'd go live for maybe a couple of hours and hour and a half or so. And anybody in the chat, because it's just me doing the show, I don't have anybody to kind of help cover for me. So if I miss your comment, or you want to see something, or you said something, ask me a question, just say it again, and then I can guarantee you it's not because I didn't want to see it or answer it. It's only because I didn't catch it. So well, a one-man show here. But yeah, as you can see, the Van Halen museum, there's also guitars in front of me on both sides, and over here and over here and over there. It's crazy. Good stuff. Just want to say real quick, I want to give a shout out to my good friend Johnny Bean. Johnny, I did a show with him on Johnny's channel back a couple weeks ago or so, and that was fun. Thanks for jumping in. I want to give a good shout out to my other good friend, Ryan, OU812. Ryan's got a great channel also, and he's live tonight at 8 o'clock. That was not by design. I did not go live to take any of his folks away. It's one of the nice things about these live shows is if you don't catch it live, you can catch the rerun. So anybody that's over at Ryan's show or anybody else's show, please stay there and feel free to jump back and forth or just catch the show at another time. But I wanted to say hi to Ryan too, and everybody out there that does their shows. Andrew Walton. Andrew, it's been a long time, bro. I haven't caught up with you either. So we definitely got to catch up. Kurt, you as well. We got to chat, man. A lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a really busy, crazy summer, fall, and now we're into the winter. And I'm just going to say one thing. If for any reason I just go kaput and I'm gone, it's because we lost power. Living up on top of this mountain up here where we got a snowstorm all last night and pretty much most of the day today. So we had the power flicker a little bit, and I was like, oh boy. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But if that was to happen and I just disappeared, it says we lost power, and I promise I'll make it up to you guys. So I'm just gonna pop back here for a minute and see what who else is in here. Yo, Throb Johnson. Yeah, we'll leave that one alone. Yeah, I catch your drift. Janice, how you been doing? Hope everything's okay with you. Jason Romero, it's going great, brother. It's going really good. Busy times. Thank you for jumping in. We're going to have some fun tonight. Nick Horton, what's going on? Nick and I chatted a little bit a couple nights ago. Nick had a issue with one of his guitars not necessarily an issue. We were talking about lowering the action. We were talking about making some adjustments to the truss rod if the Floyd itself is all set. We can talk about a little bit about that later too. Let's see. Andrew Russell, congratulations. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate it. Definitely feels it feels different. It was a crazy 10 years. It was definitely or 9.5, whatever you want to call it. But ever since the divorce, when I started doing these live shows, it was 2015 with Johnny, and we I had all these guitars to show, and Johnny and I had known each other for a long time, even back in 15. And I jumped on his show and just never looked back. But that was when I started Johnny's show. That was hard to believe, 9.5 years ago, man. It's crazy. So a lot has happened in 9.5 years. A lot of crazy stuff, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of learning, a lot of mistakes, different career changes, and definitely some cool stuff. But guitar talk. I'm here to check on your paper towels. Well, if it makes you feel any better, bro, they're the right way now, because there's a lady in the house, so she keeps me straight, so to speak. Super dude, how you doing, buddy? Dojo looking amazing. Yeah, the karate dojo is out here. This is the dojo 5150, and out there is the office, tool room, and then the firearms armory. So Brent Tom, how you doing, man? I would love to see the 1984 Kramer. I heard Eddie play it when Van Halen did the MTV Hot Weekend in 1984 live. Yeah, that was Kurt Jeffrey. Kurt Jeffrey is also a good friend of mine, and there's a chance Kurt might jump in. He was the winner of the Lost Weekend, and at the end of the Lost Weekend show that aired on MTV, Eddie has the 1984 Kramer. So maybe we'll start with that one. All right. So what we're going to do tonight for a little while is I thought we'd have a little fun with something. I will try to get around to everybody as much as I can. If I show a guitar and somebody jumps in and they didn't realize that I had already showed it, I'll try to make a comment to that. But if you don't get a chance to see the guitar you asked, chances are I might have showed it before, so just scroll back once the video's over. I'll try to get around to everybody. We'll try to do what we can. But I thought it'd be kind of fun to have you guys just pick out a guitar, and chances are I just might have one. I might not have them all, but if there's something you want to see, let me know. So that's what we'll do. I'm going to apologize for ahead of time. Most of the guitars are probably not tuned up because it's hard to get around to over 55 guitars on a weekly basis. I have a few different players that I play with, and they all do get played occasionally throughout the year, but there's, like everybody else, there's definitely some main ones that we all want to see and play and jam. So I have a couple favorites that are typically my main players. I am going to do a show now that the wedding's over and all that stuff's over, going into the winter months and the holidays. I'm going to try to knock out a few more shows through the holidays, because I should have some time off and work on some playing. And I'm going to try to get set up where I can jam live, so it doesn't sound all garbled on the YouTube thing. My wet dry wet rig is really awesome. I love it. It sounds incredible, but I need to hook something up to the computer. So that's what we'll do tonight. So let me just go back, make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so let's start with a 1984 Kramer. And yeah, let's do that. I bet you guys are going to love the background music too. All right, here she is. The 1984 Kramer. Interesting history. If you scroll back on my channels and everything, you'll get a lot of history on a lot of these guitars, this being one of them. This is a newer version. I don't know if I did do a video, last video I think I did on this channel. I did talk a little bit about this particular guitar. This is a custom build, lock body. I think it's a Musicraft neck from my good friend Scott Smith, who I was actually talking to today on the phone, catching up with him. And he's actually working on a project for me right now. This particular guitar was painted by my good friend Matt Anthony, who just literally crushed it. He just did an amazing job on this thing. He just, from the overspray to the texture to, I mean, just absolutely incredible. He just knocked it out of the park. And you can see it says Z 1984. He even just nailed the overspray on everything and just knocked it out of the park. Again, like I said, I don't think these guitars are all, there's some I set up, but they're probably not all in tune. So, no, definitely way out of tune. Yeah, they're way out of tune. But this guitar started out as, it was built right around approximately the same time as the 5150, if not at the exact time. I really believe, and there's some speculation whether it was George Felice or whether it was Zeke. One of those two, I believe, painted the 5150 and this one at the same time. Paul Unkert had already kind of been out of the equation by that point. And had kind of, you know, he'd left Kramer. But anyways, this guitar started with a chrome Floyd on it, a whale tail, and a different neck. And I'll show you the neck that was actually on it originally in a few minutes. It had 2 stars on the headstock, again with chrome hardware up here. And Eddie played this guitar live in the 1984 tour. And typically he would bring it out. The 5150 was his main guitar. Obviously, that was the first tour that Eddie used the guitar. Some speculation if he used it on the album 1984 or if that was the Frankie. Some folks have different thought processes on that. But the 5150 was his main guitar starting in the 1984 tour. That's where that kind of spawned. This was the #2 backup. And because it had 2 stars right here. So the 5150 had 1 star on the headstock and here, and the lower horn area on the side, and the 1984 had 2. And according to Eddie, that's how he could, you know, Rudy would know which guitar to pull from. So we believe that there was some speculation on this too, and my good friend Michael McGuire and I've had conversation on this. There was some speculation that the serial number was a different number, which I'd have to remember, and I have it over there. But we believe it was actually B4125, based off of a Young Guitar magazine, where the person actually says that was the serial number. And I have a picture of it also. It looks like it is B4125, which would put the other number B4. Before, I don't know if it was 186. I get the 5150 and that one mixed up. But whatever it was, we believe that it was, in fact, this one. Anyways, after the 1984 tour, Eddie went to, and I'll just show this guitar real quick now, too. And then once I show these 2 guitars, I'll go back to the comments. All right. So in the beginning of the 1984 tour, this 84 guitar had this neck on it. Not this particular one, but it had this with the 2 stars. This was the original one. It had the backwards black stripes, as you can see, prototype nut. And yeah, it was actually this neck. Paul Unkert actually made this neck for our good friend Dave Nesdahl, actually, and I was able to acquire this. So at the end of the 1984 tour, 1985, Ed and Val donated a guitar to the Hard Rock Cafe in LA. And Eddie ripped the neck off of the 1984 and put it on this body, which is kind of a Hot for Teacher-ish looking body. And basically said it was his #2. Well, he was half right. Back in those days, there was no internet. There wasn't a lot of magazines that had pictures of all these kind of more rare guitars. So nobody would have known. But what he basically did was he kept the 1984, his #2 guitar, took the neck off and slapped it on this and then donated it. And it has been all over the country. I think this guitar is in Italy right now, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where the original neck went. It went on the 85 Hard Rock guitar. And this is also a great guitar. I love this guitar. This was painted by my good friend Nick Amendolara, the kid. And the serial number B4186 on the back. There was a lot of speculation that that was the serial number in 84. But I honestly believe it was B4125. And Michael McGuire sells both of those neck plates. So what did I do? Because I thought it was the B4186, I pulled it off of this guitar and put it on this one. So what better idea to do, right? At least it's got that, it's on that guitar with that neck. So then what happened was, in 1985, at some point, Zeke joined the Van Halen clan, and I'm going to get the comments in a few minutes, guys, and I'll back up and whatever I missed. I saw someone throw circles in there too. Keith Campbell says Ed used this 1984 live on the 5150 for Good Enough as well. Yes, he did. I'm going to get into that. Good comment. Zeke came and into the mix, and it was believed there's a new interview with I think it was Steve Rosen. I think just did this and interviewed Zeke Clark back in '85. I think it was either Steve, or it was Jazz, Johnny Bean's cousin, Jazz Obrick. One of those two, I can't remember which one. I have the interview. Interviewed Zeke, and Zeke was talking about this guitar. So what happened was they threw this neck on it, and this neck is called the replacement neck. It's like a 5150-ish neck, and they put black hardware on it. And I'm not going to get too geeky, but this is actually a Steinberger knob, off a Steinberger guitar. Because in 1988, Ed had a Steinberger knob on it. He had a black speed knob on it. He had a little metal knurled knob in the 84 tour. This guitar went through a bunch of volume knobs, all black. And now Wolfgang has this guitar because his dad gave it to him. I believe it has a regular black tone Strat knob on it. But I always liked the Steinberger knob in the 88 version of this, which is what I had my friend Matt do. So this replacement neck, this is what the guitar looked like during the 1986 5150 tour. And this is the Good Enough guitar. And Eddie had, I believe it was an A bass string he had on there so he could get the real low chug, when he was playing Good Enough. That's why you have that real low beat. If you hear the Live Without a Net version of Good Enough, which is out there on audio, hopefully one of these days it makes video because it's got to be out there. You'll hear that real deep chug, and that's that A bass string. This guitar was played exclusively for Good Enough in the 1986 5150 tour, and with the old neck and the chrome hardware was played in the 84 tour. Typically at the end of the set for like Ain't Talking About Love, You Really Got Me, he would pull it out a couple of different songs. But it made a transformation in 86, and it kind of stayed this way. I think there was one time where it actually had a chrome bar on it. Steve Nowicki, my good friend Steve Nowicki, we all know Steve works for Howard Stern, who actually I'm going out to see next weekend. I'm going to be out in Brooklyn visiting with Steve. And we believe it had a chrome bar on it at one point, and Wolf might have done a few modifications to it, or Ed did back in the early 2000s. But this is kind of what it looks like today, basically, for the most part. And this guitar did go on the 1988 OU812 tour. It was one of the backups, although I have not seen any pictures or any video of Ed playing an 84 Kramer on the OU812 tour. I really would love to see that. I know there's some video out there of Ed popping a string on the 5150, and he takes the Steinberger out and does a solo on the GL guitar, which is interesting. I was always surprised that he didn't pull this out, because at that time the A bass string was pulled off and it just had a regular E on it, is what we believe. So that's what we got. Let me just check a couple of questions and then we'll pick up another guitar. Dwight Bailey, what's happening? All right, Alan Garber, what's going on? Alan is a great guy. Him and I have also been friends for a long time. Alan, if you ever want to learn note for note, riffs typically from the Roth era, although he's done some Live Without a Net stuff too. Check out Alan's videos because he is right on the money. Whenever I want to learn something like the album, or I really want to, drill down on something and figure out the exact notes, I'll go check out one of Alan's videos. I got to get back. Alan kind of enhanced my Hang 'em High riff. That's actually a riff that I struggled with for years and still do, but I finally kind of got it down. And thank you to Alan for that. Happy belated birthday to Kurt Jeffries. Yes. All right. Circles guitar. All right. We'll head down in just a minute. Let me put these two babies away. And kind of glad you guys are getting a chance tonight to check out some of these guitars. I hope you're enjoying it. This guitar that I'm going to pull out right now, the Circles guitar, some people aren't going to like what I have to say, but we're going to have a little fun with it. This is probably the closest model to the real thing you could possibly imagine. My good friend Jerry Leica painted this for me a few years ago. So the Circles guitar, which is how it started out, bare wood, 2.5-inch thick body, as you can tell. It's or I think it was 2 or 2.5. I'd have to look at it, but you can tell it's a real thick body. This one, the Rude and the Rosta, which is this one too, were all a thicker body because Ed was going for a different tone. Because at that time they had the original Floyds. This is an FRT1 custom. Hard to get these things, but I wanted it on this guitar. I'll go over that in a minute. They were experimenting with Rockinger. They were experimenting with Floyd. Had just kind of come out. Ed was kind of all over the map with, people were hitting Ed up. Schecter, Kramer hadn't quite come along yet, to Ed anyways. I mean, and Fender, all these different places were hitting Ed up, and he was just building his own guitars with Lynn Ellsworth and a little bit with Charvel, and although he was kind of pissed at him at the time. So anyways, this guitar started out with this paint job. Hard to say if it was Ed or if it was Rudy who painted it. I have information, all right, and I can't say if it's accurate, but I do trust the source that Rudy painted this, because the person I talked to said Ed was at the time, as we all know, getting sick and tired of people copying his guitars. He was just tired of it. He didn't like it. It annoyed him, especially back in the early days. So Rudy went out and bought deep midnight blue paint. And I have some pictures of this guitar. It would take me forever to find them on my phone with where it actually does look blue. So if you look at it in the right light, it looks black, right? But if you turn it in the right light, you can tell it's deep midnight blue, and I have some of those pictures. That is something that a lot of people never really knew, but I know, talking to my friend Scott and Jerry over the years, who are the guys that got me into this back in '96. Back in the mid-'90s, they were saying that. We just got to steal Dweezil's. Actually, I don't think Dweezil has it anymore. I'm not sure, but we got to steal the Rosta and chip some paint off and see if it's blue or black. But most folks make this in black. EVH made a copy of it in black, a tribute version, EVH version. Great guitar, by the way. And shout out to EVH brand. But I chose to go a little different because I honestly believe that it was deep midnight blue based off that information. So you can tell it's a regular Strat neck. And we believe that this neck, this exact neck, not this exact one on my hand, but this exact neck is what's on the Frankie today. On the Frankie today with different tuners. And you can tell there's Schaller double tabs, and this guitar did have Schaller double tabs on the back of it. So did the B. And that's why in the back of the Frankie headstock you see those extra holes, because this was the neck and had Schaller double tabs. Oops. Bye, see you later. This is actually, you can tell the primitive cut of the cavity cover, and you guys that know what I'm talking about will see. We'll kind of get an idea. Yeah, that looks just like the real one, because there's some pictures of Ed backstage and fair warning holding this up. This is actually gaffer's tape, red gaffer's tape, which is what we believe it was. We don't believe it was paint. We think it was tape, based off of a friend of mine who saw the real guitar in the Rosta stage. You can see where in the Rosta, and my Rosta has this too, because it started out as this. You can see where they razor blade cut. You can see the cuts in the guitar. So we think they just put tape on and cut it out with a razor blade. But again, it's all speculation. Got a big steel block. FRT1. Really hard to find those. And yeah, this is a great guitar. This is the Circles guitar. Little tadpoles. And this is definitely a guitar that I've this is the best version I've ever had of this, and I'm very proud to have it. So, see what else we got. Right, Bailey, what's going on? Alan Garber says, 1984, you have the low A on the 6-string. I don't, Alan, because mine, I kind of got mine in the 1988 version, in the OU812 era, when he took it on tour, even though we never played it, we don't think. We believe he'd taken that A bass string off by that time. It was just kind of a hassle having that on. I've had it on there before. But what I do normally is I put a real heavy gauge low E on it, and then I just tune it down to A. That's usually what I do. And for me, it kind of works, you know. But good question, yeah. But I have done that before, yeah. All right. I see another guitar that folks want to see. It's kind of fun having you guys pick this. All right. So this is one that I've been wanting to get in the collection for a long time. Ooh, look at that reflection. Wow, the thing does look good. I cleaned this baby up good, didn't I? So this is a guitar I have some custom builds of. I can show you the red cloud after, and it's set up to be a Ripley, but it's a lock body and a Musicraft neck, so it's not a real Ripley. It doesn't have the electronics in it. It's just for show. It plays, but it's just a one volume, one pickup guitar without a Bartolini. I got a really good deal from a guy who I found on Facebook Marketplace a few weeks ago. My wife and I, man, it's so weird saying that again. My wife and I, love you to death, babe. Oh, and by the way, shout out to my stepchildren, Grayson and Darby, who were just doing a dance party up there earlier today. They both did awesome. And I'm really proud of Grayson because he was a real good kid today. And so was Darby on their snow day, because we got snowed in up here with 10 inches of snow when I got up this morning. So I had my work cut out for me before work. No pun intended, right? But I just want to give a shout out to those two little munchkins and to my beautiful wife. So I found this guy on Facebook Marketplace. I'm not going to get into prices and stuff like that, but it was an absolute steal of a price. And I made a new friend out of it, and he only lived 2 hours away. So went down to pick it up. This is the first real Ripley I've ever owned. It's got the Bartolini pickup. I have the bridge set up as a floater because on these kind of more rare guitars, not my main Eddie guitars, excuse me, I have them set up like a regular Kramer would be. As floaters. So this one might be in tune. Yeah. So this guitar, I set the action up and everything on it. It's got the Bartolini pickup. It's got the 6 knobs. You can tell here. Which way are we going here? Oh, here we go. See how it's got the power switch on off, right? And so the back looks like it's got all the electronics obviously in here. And original neck plate and Kramer Ripley. So I did put a black truss rod cover on it because that was missing. So I took care of that, cleaned it all up, took the Floyd off, greased everything up, cleaned everything up, lowered the action, and set it up exactly how I like it to play. And it plays great. Now I have not plugged it in to two amps yet. I'll show you the splitter box in a second, but it did come with a splitter box, original Kramer case, and this is a great guitar. The only thing that I did notice, and it's a 1985 Kramer Ripley, original owner. He said he bought it back in '85 and had it all these years and just doesn't play it. And it's in really, really, really good condition. It's not a case queen, but it's in great condition. No big dings or dents or scratches. And the neck is in super shape, and the frets are great. Somebody professionally routed out underneath the Floyd. They did a professional route, and the posts, you can tell, are Alan Garber posts. Little joke for Alan there, my good buddy. These are Allen posts. They're not the original wood screws like they should have been, like period correct. And they have the bushings in there. They're just not the wood screws. So this would have come with the wood screws and with no route, I believe. Well, I know that wouldn't have come with these particular pulled. So somebody replaced that at some point, which isn't a bad thing. It made it not quite totally original. I'm going to try to get some flathead screws that actually go into the bushings. I know a company that actually makes those. And all I did under here is I just painted it deep black underneath the route to kind of make it blend a little bit more. But it's not overbearing at all. And that really didn't bother me. And but yeah, the Kramer Ripley. So that's a really cool guitar. Let me show you the splitter box. So one of these days in the next near future, I'm going to plug it into a couple different amps and check it out. So here's the splitter box, Ripley stereo splitter. So what you do is you plug the guitar into the input, take a cord, and then you plug it into here, and then you get your left and right, and each one of these goes to a different amp. And then you take your panning knobs, turn the power switch on the guitar, take your panning knobs, and you can set it to pan each string to a different amp. So you get that kind of a ping pong effect. Like if you put headphones on, you listen to Top Jimmy off to 1984 or Ripley. And I believe the new Blood and Fire Ripley version off of A Different Kind of Truth. I believe Eddie used a Ripley for that. I read. You get that effect. So it's kind of cool. Always a guitar that I wanted to have. Kramer. Kind of neat. So let's see what else we got. Thanks, Dwight. What else we got? Anybody jump in here? B4129 Kramer 5150. That's it, Kurt. Are you ever going to make a video on how Eddie painted his guitars? I always wondered how he did it. Only Grunge. How you doing? Excuse me. If you go back in my videos a handful of years, there was one or two that I did where I talk about that. What I have not done is actually done a video, like an instructional video of actually him doing it, which is a great idea. So that gives me that's a good idea. Only I will I'll check into that, and I'd like to put something together for that because it would be cool. Basically, what Eddie always did, or Paul Unkert or Zeke or George or any of the folks at Kramer that were painting his guitars, or Eddie himself back in the early days when he was doing this himself, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but would basically take the body, spray it white, let it dry, tape it up, spray it red, pull the tape off, and then just lay like manila envelopes over it and space them out. And then just hit it with black, pull the things. I mean, it was literally, that's why you have all the overspray on the sides, because it wasn't taped. And sometimes on the top. That's why the black lines always look more quickly done, because they just did. They just took envelopes and just laid them on and pulled them off, and you got overspray on the side, whatever. It's kind of cool. I didn't know that until years later talking to Paul. Typically, they would use masking tape back in those days, or painter's tape. Half inch. The 5150 has a lot of half inch, 1/8 inch, 3/4 inch tape. And basically, there was no rhyme or reason, as Paul Unkert told me one time. He says willy-nilly is the term that he used. They would literally just take tape and their ruler and just razor blade it, take out tiny little strips and put it on and spray it. It was that primitive and that quick. Which is one of the reasons why it's very hard to replicate one of Eddie's guitars, specifically the ones that have the flaws in the paint job, because it's not it's almost easier to make a factory finish one with the right equipment versus set things up just right and set the stage where you can have those flaws in there. It's kind of difficult, but I will do a video on that. Only Grunge. It's a good idea. Let's see what else we got. Period Correct Guitar Parts. Check it out. That's right, Kurt. Michael McGuire, great guy. Michael's friend of mine. I'm always getting parts and stuff from him. He did a run of original FRT5 whale tail bridges, FRT1s, and there's folks out there. There's also Dive Bomb, Kyle Finch, also a good friend of mine. Known Kyle for many years. There's some really good folks out there that put out some incredible stuff. But Jeff, definitely check out Period Correct. If you're looking to get stuff, hardware typically that's exact to these replicas. If you geek out on it like I do, Mike's the one that will have probably what you need. And if he doesn't, send him a message and he'll acquire it for you at some point. Let's see what else. If the 1984 Kramer is B4125, that would be in direct sequence with the all-weight, the Wildlife Kramer Pacer Deluxe, which is B4126. Alan, that's a great point. You made reference to that on Facebook, I think a message a year or so back. You talked about that Kramer, and I have pictures of that Kramer too in one of my Japanese magazines. That's a great point. I'd have to go pull the magazine, but the Young Guitar magazine, it's one of the Ed. It's actually one of the Ed Guitar magazines, but made by Young Guitar. If you filter through the pages, it says that it shows a picture. It says 1984 Kramer serial B4125, and I did take a picture of it. Actually, let me see if I can find that. Hold on. I think I can probably find that one relatively quick and show you guys what I'm talking about. And again, it's hard to see the pictures, but I'm going to tell you, I really, really, really believe that's what is going on with that. Let me see if I can find this. I think I probably can, because I think I'm right in the ballpark. I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures of all these guitars. And let's see. And we're getting close. We're getting close, I think. Don't make a liar out of me. Here we go. Okay. So, as you can see, this is Kramer 1984 B. Look at the red. B4125. It's in Japanese, but that's what it is. And here's a picture of the neck clip. That, to me, looks like B4125. So that's the proof right there. That's the real 1984 Kramer. And you can also see the holes in the back from the tray table. So kind of some interesting stuff. So hate to break a lot of bubbles out there, folks, but we really believe that's what it is. But that's a good point too, Alan. What else we got? Jimmy Ka. What's going on, Jimmy? How you doing? Jimmy was at the wedding, and we had a lot of fun. Jimmy got a chance to see me doing a split. I should show you that picture. You guys get a kick out of that. Take a little break from the guitars. Nobody wants to see guitars anyways, right? You'd rather see family wedding pictures, right? Yeah, right. How you doing, Jimmy? How are those two little chihuahuas doing? Yeah, let's see. Here's a picture of at the wedding. It's me, Steve Nowicki, Jimmy Carr, and Matt Anthony. And let's see what else we got here. Where's that other picture I want to show you? Oh, here we go. Yeah, that was definitely in the reception. There's Jimmy, Steve, Matt, and that might have been 2 or 3 solo cup drinks in, or I don't know, whatever, something like that, right? All right, back to business here. It's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt. This is employment, not enjoyment. Guitar Man 45, how you doing? Jimmy Carr, did you get your other T-shirt? Other T-shirt? What T-shirt? Not sure which one you're talking about. Nick says, can we see that burst PV? I don't think I've seen that yet, only when you had the special. Which one? Which one are you talking about? The tobacco burst? What else we got? Yeah, Alan says, thanks, Rob. Tanner and Tom. Shreds actually plays Hang 'em High more accurately than I do. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, I'll tell you, that is a tough riff. It really is. And Alan, I have my good days and I have my bad days. Some days I'm like, damn, that's great. Why aren't I recording myself? And then other days it's like, just going to put the guitar down. Not even play today. Paul Glover, what's going on, man? How you doing? Is that the blue or black? He did a great job on Hang 'em High. What do you think of the sounds, tones Eddie used on his Kramer 5150 from the 5150 and album and OU 812? I love it. I mean, I'm a fan. It's so tough because I go through phases of you know, as a Van Halen fan, I like all the Van Halen tones from one all the way up to a different kind of truth. Different kind of truth probably being the least favorite tone of mine. It was just a little too dirty for my taste. Not that I didn't like it. It was okay. But the 5150 tone that's where you could really start, in my opinion, that's where you could really start to hear the core. I mean, Diver Down had it too, and 1984 had it too. But 5150 and OU 812 is when I really started hearing more harmonizer. So I really loved that. And I'm a huge fan of the balance sound. I love that. You know, the Eventide detuned harmonizer with the two Roland delays separate. But I like all the tones. Fair Warning is another big favorite of mine. Let's see what else we got. Where can you find an FRT1 today? Well, Period Correct has a couple on their site, I believe. There is a Facebook site called, I'll get on there right now and tell you guys. I'm on it all the time. Where is it? Early Floyd Rose Trem Group. There's some knowledgeable folks on there. There's Darren and a couple of other guys that, whoa, these guys are just crazy. I learned so much about Floyd's on their sites, like almost too much for me. But you can find them on eBay once in a blue moon. They are hard to find. I know Dive Bomb, Kyle Finch. If you got a hold of Kyle, he could probably set you up with one. Again, McGuire probably could. But they are out there. They're hard to find. Thank you. Want to say hi? No? That's my beautiful wife, ladies and gentlemen. She brought me another drink. Now I can double fist it. Right, Kurt? Hey, Derek. How you doing? Big fan of yours. You are awesome, sir. Thank you. No, you're awesome. Thank you very much. Do the Rosta next. Okay. All right. Rosta, here we come. You guys just want to see the cat puke, right? So I was on the Howard Stern show with the audio version of it back, I think last spring with my good friend Anthony Sajazi, Joe Suma, my other good friend who owns Greenwich Music, also the guy that hosts EVH-Con, and we were interviewed by some of Howard Stern's folks, and we talked about Van Halen guitars, and I exclusively got to talk about this guitar. This is the Circles guitar, the Unchained guitar that I showed you. And if you look close enough, I don't know if you can see the circles and underneath the paint, just like Ed's. Again, 2.5 inch thick body or 2 inch thick body. The route is a little bit different, or not the route. The plate is a little bit different. Eddie didn't have it, so they call it the Bean route. I call it the Johnny Bean route. Anyways, it's I think he put a different cover on it. So the gray is actually primer where it wore through, is what we believe. You can see a little bit of gray on it. And this version has the painted headstock. When Ed played this guitar live in the Diver Down tour a few times, way out of tune. When Ed played this guitar live a handful of times in the Diver Down tour, the headstock wasn't painted yet. We think Ed painted it sometime around 83, early 84, obviously to match the body. So they basically painted right over the Circles, the Unchained guitar. They just hit it with primer first, the gray primer. And I don't know if you can tell, but you can see "Bye, see you later." You guys see that? That's why we think it was tape, because the real one has this too. So Jerry Leica, my good friend Jerry, painted this for me. And it was a Circles guitar first and then morphed into this. So it was painted exactly the same way. This guitar has gold Goto crown head tuners on it. which is what the real one has. It was in parts. This had an original FRT whale tail bridge on it. The bridge that was originally on this in the Diver Down tour ended up on the Kramer Frank. Had pulled it off this guitar, put it on the Kramer Frankie. And if you go look at the, I think it's Vintage Kramer, and there's a couple of other sites, they actually talk about that. And this guitar was just in pieces. It was a body and a neck. And at some point, Ed painted it and then gave it to Dweezil Zappa. And that's where the actual Schaller Floyd Rose came from, because that's what's on it now. A little bit different. I'm not a huge fan of the Schaller Floyds, but they're great quality. They're super, super thick basses, and it's just not my favorite version, but they're great bridges. And it's got the, I don't know if that's a DiMarzio, or I think it's the Schaller Blade pickup, I think is what it was. And it switched around the input jack back to where it should be. And yeah, this is the Rosta. You can, like I said, you can see the circles, you know, on the top horn and everything. Kind of a cool guitar, the Rosta Strat. So when Dweezil got it from Ed, he just put a bunch of stuff. Ed probably was like, you know, it was in the neck and the body. And there's some video footage of one of the roadies coming to Ed's hotel, knocking on the door, and Ed opens the door and he just throws the guitar in there, or throws the guitar case, and Ed's holding this. It's like in pieces. It's kind of neat video. But right around that time after is when he gave it to Dweezil, and Dweezil put it together. So a lot of these parts that are on the real one at this time, the parts probably were not the same parts that Ed had when he played it live in the Diver Down tour. But still pretty cool. Norm's Rare Guitars did an awesome video on this. So the last thing I'll just talk about was they talk about some rock and roll vomit, which is here and drips down the back. It's hard to see. You can kind of see a little bit of it. You can definitely see it here. And somebody puked on the thing, they thought, for years. But actually what it was one of Val's cats. Was in the studio, and the cat threw up. So my old cat, Jelly Bean, who lives with my parents now, I wanted to get really accurate. So I came home from work one day, and she had thrown up on the ground. So I took a paper towel, took a bunch of it, and I just mashed it on there. So, hey, you got to make your replicas realistic, right? And that is true. This does have original cat vomit on it, just like the real one does. And if you guys are still watching the video after that, cheers. I salute you. Let's see. Keith says, do you have a stereo hookup for it as well? Yeah, I do. I think he's talking about the Ripley. I just have to set everything up. You're very welcome, Yosinator. David Turco says, what gauge A string was it that was on the 84? I can't see an A bass string fitting it in a Floyd Rose. There were some modifications that needed to be done. You can take a bench grinder to the end of the string, file it down a little bit, and then you can jam it in. It took me a while too. Or you can take the actual block out of the Floyd saddle, file that down. All you got to do is widen the space. Ed did all kinds of stuff like that, so you can make it work by doing stuff like that. File it down a little bit and jam it in. That's what Ed did. Jam it in, right, Kurt? Yeah, Alan Garber just said pretty much exactly what I just said. Holly Lewis, how you doing, Holly? Does it have a battery? Did not see the compartment. I guess your Guitar Man 45. Are you talking about the Ripley? Yes, it's got a 9-volt in there. Yeah, and even back now. Keith just verified that. Sean Zimmerman, what's up? Jack 181B4U, how you doing? The tremolo bridge that you mentioned on that Circles guitar, they do have it, and it's a Floyd Rose tremolo fine tuner, which is the exact original Eddie used in '79 until '82. Yeah. And it's a Floyd Rose tremolo fine tuner. I don't think Eddie used the fine tuners in the 70s, though. They didn't start coming out until, well, the FRT4 was the first version. I have an FRT4 made by Fernandez in the other room. The fine tuner started coming out around 81, 82. But Tobin, what's going on? Well, what else we got? Thanks for the info. I always heard about the bass string. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are jumping in here because I'm trying to keep up with everything. What else we got? It's hard to replicate willy-nilly, totally. Do you have that guitar that was in Guitar for the Practicing Musician? Which one are you talking about, Keith? What guitar? The one that shows Ed building. You talking about the Kramer, the Neptune guitar? If it is, we'll come down and we'll catch it in another comment. Do I need a distortion pedal to get the Brown sound, or is overdrive enough? Connor Hayes, how you doing? Thanks for jumping in. It's, the Brown sound is highly sought after. It was mostly all in Eddie's fingers. It was the way that he played. It's so hard to nail that tone. It was, 69 Marshall plexi head cranked to 211. There were so many different things that Eddie had to get that sound. You can definitely come close with some different pedals, like the 5150 overdrive. It's tough. I mean, we could go into different conversations on that. But we'll save that for a different time. But it is possible. It's just really difficult. And like Keith said, Ed never used the distortion pedal. That's correct. He just cranked everything up. Were you wearing spandex for the split? No, just a regular tux. How did Eddie get those tones, heavy tones, and those distortions? Just cranked, dude. Cranked. It had a lot of gain, but cranked. Jimmy Carr, great times. If we have time, would love to see your Megazone replica. All right, Jason, let's do that next. That's an interesting one. And that is definitely a version that I never thought I'd probably have in the collection up until maybe a handful of years ago. Now, mine is not totally exact to what the real one was, which we believe was made by Carl Sandoval. This is a lock body and I believe a lock neck. The headstock went through some different modifications. We believe this is what it would look like now. Donnie Ward did one of these, which is a much more accurate build than mine, but mine's okay. It's got what's called a Schaller, not Schaller. I forget who makes this. Somebody correct me on the thing. It's a V-trim. Really interesting bridge. It's got the gold straight bar, really cool. The gold tip on it. This is a DiMarzio Super Distortion, and you can tell kind of a neat body. Input jack on the side, volume knob right in here. And again, Eddie's was a neck through, I believe. This is a bolt on, so it's not accurate. You can see big brass block. And I don't believe it had a cavity cover either, the real one. This did, so I just painted over it. Probably had Schaller tuners. These are EVH tuners. So, I mean, it's pretty accurate. I mean, if you look at it from here, it looks great. Had kind of a really interesting dark grain in the middle of it. But this is the Megazone, the Mighty Mite. Some pictures of Ed in 78 playing this thing. Built by Carl Sandoval. Kind of cool. Ed's did not have a Floyd. I just have a Floyd nut on there with no clamps. So you just play it that way. But neat guitar. Yeah, I love this guitar. I don't play this very often, but believe it or not, I did. It's actually, it's way out of tune, but still, it's actually not bad setup on it. All right, what else we got? Sean Zimmerman. Hey, Raymond, what's up? Different kind of truth. Wasn't a Brown sound, in my opinion. It was just a heavy distortion, totally. Inside the Musical Mind. How you doing? Thanks for jumping in. I agreed. Remember when the first time back in 12, when I heard Tattoo, I was like, in the beginning of the song where Ed's hitting those chords, I think a G chord, Dave's going on that first chorus. I was like, whoa, that is like just heavy distortion. This is a 5153. Just, cranked, a lot of gain. Again, like I said, that wasn't my favorite tone. I like it. It's Ed. But yeah, it was that totally was not a Brown sound. That was just heavy distortion. But again, Ed was a tone chaser, so he was constantly changing. That's why his tone on each album sounds so different. Ed can always say, he always used to say a lot, well, it's how they mic'd it, and they had Andy Johns and For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. And yeah, all that stuff is true. But Ed was constantly changing his sounds. Toby, I answered this before, but Rob, do you have your 84 Kramer set up with an A bass string? I did, but I don't anymore because it's kind of a pain in the ass. So what I did is I take a heavy gauge, I use nines. I run nines on most of my guitars. All my guitars with Floyd's, I run nines. And then non-Floyd guitars like this one or something with stop tailpiece or whatever, I run tens usually. And that particular guitar, what I do now, I used to have an A bass string on it, but it's, like I said, it was a pain. And it like getting it to go in the saddles is a royal pain. We talked about that a minute ago. But what I did was, what I do now is just run a heavy E string and just tune it down to A. Works pretty well. CHS Custom Guitars. Craig, I was hoping you were going to bounce in here today. Look at this one, Craig. I know you know what this is. And Craig's probably done a couple of these. I have no idea. Craig, CHS Custom Guitars, my really good friend, longtime dear friend Craig Stofko is in here. And I just want to say, Craig has done many guitars for me over the years. And he runs an amazing business. If anybody, I've said this before, but if anybody is looking at having their Music Man, their PV Wolfgang, their EVH guitar, or any guitar, even Strike guitars, done to literally professional factory finish, and Craig does relicking stuff too. But if you're looking, if your Music Man is faded, or your guitar is, or you just want a total custom build to make it look like what the real one did, Craig will build the guitar for you. He will paint it, and it will look like something that came right off the factory. That blue Music Man was done by Craig. The purple Music Man was done by Craig. What else was done by Craig? He did one of my Mexican Strats. He's done tons and tons of my guitars over the years. I got a couple others too. And I'm picking one up from him on Saturday. He's got a Kramer of mine Craig's had for a while, and he was working on some different things with it, turning it into a purple guitar, kind of like Eddie's purple Pacer, where he had all the tape all over it. I wanted a custom version of that guitar. I used to have a real one, but I ended up getting rid of it. But Craig took this particular guitar and is making a replica of that. It's going to be just like glass. So going to get a chance to visit my good buddy on Saturday. And Craig's son, CJ, I want to give a shout out to CJ. CJ, if you're there watching with your dad, this kid, I hope he's still playing football too. And he's just a great kid. I've watched CJ grow up over the last, 9 years, I think. And not only is he just a wonderful kid, has a great family, he's just become an incredible guitar player. I remember when this kid didn't know how to play anything, and now he literally blows me out of the water when I'm, I'll ask CJ, hey, how did Eddie play Atomic Punk? I play it this way. CJ's like, no, he does it this way. This is and he's right. He's right on the money. And he's also picked up the drums, and he's just cranking at the drums. And he's just a good kid. There's talent. I'll tell you, these young kids, they pick stuff up so much quicker than us old folks. But I can't wait to see you. Hope you're going to be there on Saturday, CJ. Love to see you and watch you play some drums. I got to work on my chops. I haven't played much guitar ever since before the wedding. But good to see you, Craig. Thanks for jumping in, buddy. What else we got here? Do you have any Barney throw up in it? No, I don't. Where is Barney? Barney, come here. Want to say hi? Come here. Barney is here. You say hi? Barney's been on many videos. Say hi? Yes, I know. Good boy. Let's see. Holly Lewis, hanging in there, Robbie. Got a cold today here in Oklahoma. Oklahoma, gosh, I haven't been to Oklahoma in many years, Holly. I've probably been 2011 or 12 since I've been to Oklahoma. Hope you feel better, though. Oh, did you say it's cold or you have a cold? Oh, it got cold here in Oklahoma. Yeah, definitely. I thought you said you had a cold. I've been fighting a cold for the last 2.5 weeks. It's awful. David Turcos, FRT1, hunt down Brad Gillis of Night Ranger. He's been holding them hostage. Yeah, no kidding, right? Brad Gillis was, I think it was Brad Gillis, Eddie Van Halen, and Randy Hansen were the three guys back in 79, 80 that got the first FRT ones. Is Robbie Stingle in here? Someone just said, hey, Robbie Stingle. Robbie, which one are you? I didn't see you in here. But Robbie Stingle, if you're in here, that is very cool. I'd like to say hi. Robbie is a gentleman who worked at Kramer and has a lot of knowledge on Eddie's guitars and probably spent a lot of. Oh, there he is. Hey, Robbie. Robbie has a lot of information on Eddie's guitars, and geez, the guy was there back in the '80s when Eddie was there. I mean, that's just insane. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall. But Robbie's probably still doing some videos. He goes into great detail on different Kramers and paint and specs and stuff like that. I've actually learned a lot from Robbie. He said we made 5 Ad Frankies, Kramer Ad Frankies. That's one of my favorite versions too. All right, what else we got? What else you guys want to see for guitars? I heard that the Rosta was on the hotel room floor in the Panama video. It was, yeah. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Rob, do you think EVH will ever release a Rosta? You know, it's kind of funny. I have information that the Rude, the Rosta, and an actual relic 5150, kind of like the VH1 and the Frankies they did and the B, kind of like that version of the 5150. They had some Stripe series that were, I think, a few years ago were slated to come out, and I heard that the Rosta was one of them. I don't know what happened. Somehow it got put on the back burner if that was the case, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day we'll see that. Rob, how the search on those 5150 stickers? Which ones are you talking about? Space tape? Oh, Andrew. I know what Andrew's talking about. Hi, Andrew. How you doing? I will get to them, I promise. It's just been absolutely crazy. I was on Johnny Bean's show, and I promised Andrew some 5150 stickers for the Ernie Ball Music Man. So I do have a set. I will get them out to you. I got your address. We'll make it happen, bro. He messaged me a week and a half ago, and it's just been so crazy. I just haven't had a chance with Thanksgiving and everything. But I'll get to him, my friend. Oh, you ate one too? Ryan, what are you doing here? Ryan, you're supposed to be doing your own show. He must have 2 computers going. Good to see you, buddy. See you Saturday at the Home of Tone. Yes, 5150 Dojo is going to the Home of Tone on Saturday to see Mr. Craig Stoffco. Cat Vomit. Sounds like a great name for a band, Holly says. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. When I was on the Howard Stern show that day and I was talking about that Rosta guitar, they were just like, whoa. There's a guy here that actually put cat vomit on his guitar. Yep. Guilty. All right, what else we got? Jerry's here. Jerry, we just showed a bunch of your guitars, dude. Jerry Leica, a good friend of mine who I've known for many, many, many years. Scott Smith and Jerry Leica were the 2 guys that got me into this insanity back in 1996. So you are the reason I'm divorced. You guys are the reason why I have no money. And all kidding aside, you guys are the reason why I've had a lot of fun over the years. You guys taught me how to paint and build these crazy looking things, I'll tell you. Thanks for jumping in, Jerry. Jerry and I catch up a lot too. It's fun to it's fun to chat with Jerry. We're still learning stuff after all these years, you know. All these years. All right, the Neptune. Okay, the Neptune guitar. I knew that was going to come up. Stand by. That's one of my favorites. And of course, it's the one that's hardest to get because it's tucked in the back of the museum where I have to like step over 19 different things, probably spill my drink, unless I'm really, really tactical, which I try to be. Let's see. Boy. And we got it. This is one of my favorite guitars. And Robbie Stingle, I'm sure, will recognize this one. So this guitar is the Kramer Neptune guitar, which was in the Orlando Hard Rock Cafe for many years. You can see it has 6 bolts. Then got shipped to Hard Rock Cafe in LA. Had a whale tail bridge on it with no fine tuners at the time. And it has, look at the string retainer. It doesn't even cover the string tree, excuse me. It doesn't even cover the string retainer, it is. Doesn't even hit the low E string. This is what the real one was look like. Original prototype vintage nut with the clamps on sideways. Now, I don't know if that's what it was like when Ed had it at the 1983 NAMM show. But in the old Japanese guitar magazine, Young Guitar, you can see a picture of Ed, shows him spray painting this guitar. It's unlikely that Ed actually painted it. It might have been just a photo shoot. But it shows Ed when they were building this guitar, and there's other pictures of them putting it together. And very primitive. So the story is, when I went out to, and Robbie, I don't know if you probably know this, Robbie, and chime in if you have anything to add on it. But when I was out visiting Paul Unkert back 7-8 years ago, we talked about this guitar, and I brought this out, and he was blown away. He's like, whoa, he's like, you're one of the very few people that did a replica of this guitar. And he remembered this guitar. And underneath the neck plate, we put the neck off. He stamped Unk in here, so it's kind of cool with his personal stamp. But anyways, there's pictures of Ed painting this guitar, which you guys can see online. The story goes by Paul that they painted it white and red and had all the stripes on it minus the black ones. And Ed was in the area, and they went out to lunch. Well, as Paul says, Ed came back early and just took a can of black spray paint and the paint dripped, as you can tell. Very, very, very difficult to replicate this guitar. And he just went up real close and just went, that's why the circles are there. And then the paint ran. And he did these little poke out. Look at this one right here, as you can tell. So he just did this, and probably some kind of a drunken high stupor, you know. And Paul said they came back and he was pissed because they, you know, I mean, like, look at this thing. It looks like crap, which is why I like it, actually. And which is what brings it character. So he just did that. And there's pictures of Ed holding it after it was painted too in the factory. And this guitar was probably not a guitar that was ever played by Ed. I mean, it might have been played in the studio. I don't know. I think it was donated. It was a donated guitar. My good friend Scott Smith actually had this guitar in his possession back 20-something years ago. He took it all apart and checked it out and got some cool stuff on it. But this is what the back looks like. And these are just trem stoppers. Ed had something, or so whoever put this guitar together had something like, they weren't trem stoppers. There was something jammed in there, so I just put that in there to look the part. Big steel block and an original whale tail Floyd Rose. Now the real one, well, last time I saw it back in I saw it back a year and a half ago, right before it left. It's overseas now. Someone ripped the fine tuners off it. I have some really good pictures of this up close, videos and everything. But it looks just like this. I cut the pickguard myself out of a Rubbermaid trash can because it wasn't your typical pickguard. But Chris Hubbard painted this guitar for me and just did a great job. The headstock shape is a little different, a little more paddle-like, which was kind of interesting. Shallower tuners. And Ed, there's pictures of Ed sitting next to Dennis Berardi at the 1983 January NAMM show in Anaheim, and Ed's holding this guitar. and he's jamming on. We think that was the last time Ed ever played it or held it, and then it just got given to somebody or donated. And like I said, it was actually just down the road from Ed's house for years at the Hollywood Hard Rock Cafe. And like I said, I've seen it there a handful of times. That's where I got most of my videos of it to do this replica. And as far as the back's concerned, a friend of mine sent me some pictures of it. So really, really cool guitar. This is one of my favorites, Kramers. One of my favorite Kramers, just because it's so weird. It's odd. Look at the humbucker, the way he routed it out. A big chunk taken out. I mean, it's just look at that whale tail too. Really pretty cool stuff. What else we got? What's up, man? Glad to see you. Kyle. How you doing? Kyle is probably one of the guys that got me back into doing these videos. Kyle's a friend of mine who watched a lot of my shows over the years and then got his own awesome channel going. And I've learned a lot from Kyle. He does awesome replicas. And Kyle has my George Lynch Tiger guitar. And man, I miss that guitar. Thanks, buddy. Great to see you too. And we're just talking about the Neptune. When do we get the When the Children Cry solo with a proper guitar? Collar made those brass tip straight arm back straight arms in the back. Oh yeah, the one that I had on the Megazone. That's right. There's also one of those on the Dragon Snake guitar. Let's see. You're very welcome, Jason. He says it's actually comfortable to play he's heard it's comfortable to play the Megazone. It's actually not uncomfortable, to be honest with you. I have sat down and played it before. It's been a while, but that Tom, big brass block. What else we got here? Trying to plow through these. I want to make sure I don't lose anybody's question. CJ's doing great work building and playing. Yes, he is. CJ's a great kid. Barney! Can't wait to see him either. I'm so glad you guys are really enjoying this. Robbie, you're very welcome. Robbie said, thanks, Rob. Yeah. Robbie, one of these days I got to have a conversation with you. I'd love to just sit and Robbie and I chatted back and forth a little bit last year, I think, before that too, on some on Van Halen guitars and stuff. And again, take a guy that actually was there. I got a lot of respect for that. And, a lot of things that we thought were the case, we find out might not have been, which is kind of cool to know. And that's what I say, it's being a fan of this stuff, is you're always learning stuff. But one of these days, Robbie and I were going to sit back down and get caught up. So I'm looking forward to that. Can I see the runaround purple Ernie Ball Music Man guitar? What's the backstory on that guitar, Andrew? Are you talking about the double neck or the regular purple one? I'll go show them both. Let's see. All right, so here is the purple Ernie Ball Music Man. Craig painted this for me, CHS custom guitars. And of course, I mean, look at that. This is a custom build, by the way. Actually, I take that back. Custom body that I got from Jerry, my good friend Jerry Leica. Look at that quilt on this thing. It almost looks flamey, but it's actually a quilt. And just did an amazing job on it. And Craig, it was an Axis neck, which was black. And you can tell the work that Craig does. Look at that. So this is basically, it's all real stuff. It's all real hardware. Music Man bridge. These are Music Man EVH DiMarzio pickups, Tone Zone, and Air Nortons, I believe. All the hardware is exact. Schaller tuners, D-shaped with the drop tabs, and everything, like I said, is like glass. So it's a custom guitar. Oh, it's actually not. It's somewhat in tune. This guitar plays incredible. I love it. So Ed had Ed had tons of Music Mans. He had a main purple one that was his backup, which had a black headstock on it with no logo, which is what this used to be. And I had it changed just to kind of be more factory-like. And that was his number 2. So you see a lot of Ed playing the purple one and the amber one, the amber quilt top baby. And then he had a flame top amber one also with 5150 on it. So really, this is just a custom Music Man with all the exact parts. So it's exactly like what the real one would be. Now I'll show you the double neck. Now this is a guitar that I thought probably I would never have in the arsenal, but something that I was very lucky to acquire. And again, thank you to my good friend Michael McGuire from Period Correct for setting me up with a lot of the right hardware. And I want Craig to actually, this is a beautiful guitar, but actually I do want Craig to go over and refinish this, and then not refinish it. I like the color. It's not faded, but I want him to put a better clear coat on it. So this is a custom guitar, just like Ed's for the Spanked guitar. Ed played this, played Spanked live on this. It's a 6-string baritone neck, as you can tell. 6-string baritone neck. Oh, heavy guitar. Really cool with the lipstick pickups in it. Stop tail piece, and a 6-string with 9s, regular Music Man hooked onto it. And Music Man bridge, Music Man pickups, Music Man neck plates. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. And yeah, tuners and everything. This is a great guitar. Here's your toggle switch for your bridge and neck pickup. This switch is what goes back and forth between guitars, which guitar you play. And this one is the toggle switch for the 2 pickups here. Great guitar. This does play really nice, actually. Took me a while to get it set up. And but yeah, this is definitely a fun one to have in the collection. This is not something that you see. This you got to custom build these things. All right. What else we got here? Neptune is behind the scenes argument as well. George Felice says Ed came in and painted the splotches only. Yeah, exactly. I was told that Ed, I mean, there's pictures of Ed spraying the Neptune white, and you can see paint coming out of the can or the sprayer. But we think that was just for a photo. We don't think Ed really did that. We think that it was just the black and it was a photo shoot. Could be wrong though. Robbie says, this is cool. Robbie says, I saw Edward paint black stripes on 2 Neptunes in '84. They photographed that too. I was in the room for those. That is pretty cool. He was buzzed. Just like I thought, right? That's awesome. Do you have pics, Robbie? That would be cool. In all my Japanese magazines, I have pics of Ed with a Neptune building it and supposed to be spraying it. Guitar Man 45 thought he had 3 springs. Which guitar? Some of them they did. A lot of the Kramers too. You'll find a lot of the guitars. You'll see some of them have 3 springs in them. Ed typically like 2, but the 5150 right now has had 3 black springs in it, Futone springs for years. So Ed kind of went back and forth. A lot of times you got to remember some of these old Kramers. Sometimes Ed really didn't play them very much, and they were giveaways. And people kind of like the Vitas guitar, the Vitas guitar. I have one of those there, right there. Great guitar, but I mean, it's hard to tell what parts people raped off of these guitars over the years, and did this and did that. We just don't know. Like the Hot for Teacher, all the scuffage down on the bottom, that wasn't all done that way when Ed had it. It was done after he had it. with the way all the screws and stuff they put in the bridge and the flathead screws and the for the nut. All that stuff was done after Ed gave it away. Still cool though. Kyle Bruns, I got the pick guard idea from you for my Neptune. Yeah, seriously, right? I've used many Rubbermaid trash cans with a pair of scissors and made pick guards, man. It works great. What's up today? Trans Trim. Clayton James Hicks, how you doing, buddy? Could you play Eruption on one of your guitars? I definitely could, but I can't tonight because I'm not plugged in. And most of these are not in tune. Do you own a replica of the Music Man Yin and Yang? I do not. That is actually one guitar that I don't have a replica of. You got me. Definitely be fun. My friend Scott has one, though. Do you have any Jacksons or Charvels? I don't have any Jacksons. I used to. Charvels. Closest thing I had to a Charvel was the George Lynch Tiger guitar that Kyle has. Pink and Purple Music Mans, yeah. Yeah, the green was a very rare one. I used to have a green original Music Man too. Wish I still had that one. Is the double neck bass hollow body? Yes, it is. It's just like Ed's. Jimmy 1647. What's going on, my friend Jimmy? How you doing, Dimitri? Another good friend that we've been. Jimmy, what do you think of this baby, huh? Yeah, it's the real deal. Scroll back, you'll see some cool ones. Wait for Rob to get your question. I've seen a few yin yangs. Nobody has a replica of black and white yin yang. That's one I don't have. You still have the Kramer double neck guitar? I do. I actually just took that out on Johnny Bean's show a couple weeks ago. That's a fun one too. And of course, it's hard to get a handle on it. And my favorite song is playing in the background. Love playing that song, 5150. And yeah, here it is. This was another fun build. Hard to, you're never going to find one of these. You got to build them custom. Robbie, I bet you remember when Paul built this, don't you? Yeah, I mean, it's a Schaller Badass. And Ed had a Rockinger on his. This is a Washburn because I just didn't have a Rockinger handy. I have a couple guitars with Rockingers on them, but this kind of looks the part. So, yeah, this is a fun guitar, and it's pretty exact. Aluminum neck, and 12 string, and not in tune. That's about all you're going to get out of me with secrets tonight. But yeah, this is a great guitar. 12 string on the top, 6 string on the bottom. And yeah, it's got a Floyd gold nut. The real one didn't have that, but it had a Rockinger, like I said. But this is, the closest I could get. But it's pretty tough to get these as exact as, you can. But yeah, great guitar. Great guitar. A lot of fun. Loved building this one. This was a fun one to build. Let's see. Kyle says, Rob, what's the one guitar you've enjoyed playing as of recent? Gosh, my blue Frankenstrat is probably one of my favorite to play. I love playing them all. I really do. I love playing them all. But something about that blue Frankenstrat is great. It's just magical. I put a whale tail bridge on it with a big. I'm telling you guys, brass is great. Big brass blocks, Futone, all that, awesome. Love them. Adam Reaver, great friend of mine, awesome company, amazing stuff. You want good quality stuff, go to Adam. He's got the best of the best. To my ear, Nothing beats a big steel block. Steel sounds just amazing. And you take those stupid springs off the bottom of the Floyd, and you get that bass to rest flush on the wood, and you get that, actual resonance. That and a big steel block. Craig will admit I did it to a couple of his guitars, and even Craig was blown away. So I'd say probably the blue one. What else we got? In my 5150. Awesome guitars, Rob. So it was the Wolfgang Custom Red Trans Trem. I don't have any Wolfgang Trans Trems. I have the GL2T. Actually, I'll show you a couple. I'll show you the Trans Trems real quick. But I don't have any Wolfgang Trans Trems. All right. So the one that most everybody always wants to see. This one is a showstopper. Everybody loves this guitar. And my good friend Ryan from OU812 has one too. This is the Steinberger GL2T. And all redone by Jeff Babbitts, the guy that did Ed's. This is a great guitar. I love it. Got the little kickstand here. And this one probably is in tune. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Yeah, it is. This is it. This is the baby. Yep, Trans Trem. Professional paint job. Yeah, this is got the 0 point, the 0 fret EVH mod on it. This is one of my favorite guitars. I don't play it very often because it's too small. It's just weird, but it does play amazing. It's a great playing guitar. Show you another one. This is one that I picked up about a year ago. This is a great guitar. This is a Steinberger GM1T Trans Trem. And one pickup, active pickup, EMGs, just like the other one. And this guitar plays awesome. This one is a lot more comfortable to play. I got to tune it up a little bit though. But yeah, it's a great guitar. Trans Trem works amazing. I was lucky to find this one. Got this one overseas, actually. I actually play this one a lot. I actually love playing this one. And one that I recently got back. I've had the guitar for many years, but it never had a real Trans Trem on it. It only had a kind of like a mock-up Trans Trem on it. And finally, I got in touch with this new company called RWB Precision, and you can see. Speaking of Trans Trem, you can talk to Ryan from OU812. He's the one that turned me on to these guys. They make exact creations of the Trans Trem. They're Trans Trems, same specs and everything. So this is an RWB Trans Trem, and it works and looks just like the real one. It is a real one. It's just recreated by them to exact specs. So this is the Les Paul. I put some Steinberger tuners on it, like Ed. Ed's does not have a Floyd nut, but I kept that on this because this is the way it was when I got it. It works just fine. It's kind of like the Fire on the Whole guitar. Great guitar, plays amazing. I had a fret job done on it, and now this thing just came to life. This is a Chinese Les Paul copy, and this thing is badass now. Not in tune, but can't play Fire in the Hole because it's out of tune. But yeah, it's a great guitar. So yeah. What else do we have? Surprised you don't have a black headstock Bumblebee Charvel replica. I used to have one. And I just changed it into the 79 era, basically what I did. Do you have the red, white, and black double neck Kramer? I do not. I had an opportunity to get one of those, and I was just like, Ed never really played that as far as we know. I know he had it in the studio, and there's pictures of it. I'd love to get one, but one of these days I probably will. I can't find anybody who owns the yin and yang. A friend of mine, Scott, has one. What is the number one on your replica gas list? Gas list? You mean like one that I have or one that I want to get? If you're asking me what's my number one, it'd be probably the 5150. That's my favorite guitar. Notice the deviation to the VHL. Yeah. I do not have an Ibanez Gem. I did one time, but that's a guitar I don't have right now. What else we got? Steel, not brass. That's right, Robbie. Right there with you, bro. Cheers to that. Steel, not brass. I like brass blocks on some guitars, depending on the wood. But some of them just sound dull to me. It just has a dull feeling. And that's my opinion. Some are okay, but I'll tell you, big steel blocks, gosh, it just makes the guitar come to life. Somebody's got to get Holiday Way a yin and yang guitar. He really likes that guitar. You're going to get me to the point where I'm going to do a replica of it for you because it is a cool guitar. Rob, I've taken your advice. Remove the spring plate and spacer, adjusted to action, have a big brass block. Holy crap, sustained for days. Let me show you what Keith is talking about. Because this is pretty important. Let me pick a different guitar so you guys have. Let me see. What can I grab here? Okay, I'll grab my Hot for Teacher since that's one I haven't talked about yet. All right. So what Keith's talking about, here's my Hot for Teacher. Great replica. This is done by Nick Amendolara. I did the fogging here myself. It came out okay. I'm not totally happy with it, but it came out okay. All the other relicing was done by Nick. He did a great job on it. It's just like the real one. Tray table holes, because Ed had the tray table on this too. Ed's, or the original did not have a big brass block on it, but this one does. Yeah, just a great guitar though. Supposedly, the last one that Paul Unkert painted, serial number on it is C0176. If you can see that. Schaller tuners. This is what it looks like today, based off of when it was sold at the auction. You can tell the Kramer logo. It's yellowed and everything. Pretty cool. And these are the mods that somebody did to it. I just did. You can get those from Period Correct. You can see the saddle screws. Just some different mods, but kind of cool. It's got the Ibanez speed grip over the knob. So what I found was the original Whaletail FRT 5s did not have those springs, the finger springs underneath the bolts, and it did not have the plate underneath the base. So, and it had a big steel block. So that's why the 5150 sounded so amazing, and all those early Kramers with the Whaletails, because they had that, and the way Ed liked it, you have that, see that? Hits the bottom of the body. Clunk, 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 clunk. You don't have to have it too hard, because it just makes it harder to use the bar. But you get that, you take those springs off, you don't need to have these, because once you put pressure on the strings in the saddle and you have pressure, it holds these up. So you don't need to have those fingers underneath it. And when you take that useless piece of aluminum out from underneath the bottom, Now you get metal on wood, and well, this is a big brass block, but the steel too. Okay, you're going to get incredible sustain. You can't tell here I'm playing acoustically, but if any of you guys ever pick up an electric guitar and hit a chord acoustically, and it's just like rings, like whoa, that typically means to me that's a great guitar. So I do that to pretty much all my Floyds. I take that crap off. That's something that Adam Reaver told me a long time ago, and I started doing it, and it brings all my guitars to life. You don't need them; they don't do anything. They're tone robbing, especially that useless piece of aluminum under here. I don't even know why they use them. They come in handy to take up space to raise your bridge. Sometimes if you take those off, it's going to lower your bridge. So you got to deal with your truss rod and stuff, and you got to play this little game. It just takes time. I figured out how to do it a long time ago, and now I got it down to a science. But sometimes, depending on your shims under your neck, truss rod adjustment, sometimes you kind of got to have them or one or two just to raise the bridge a little bit, depending, because if depending on your post, there's a whole bunch of factors that come in. There's been a couple guitars that I haven't been able to take them off just because they're needed. But I find that direct contact with the bass, with a big block, and remove those springs, you just get, it makes the guitar come alive. A lot of people have tried it, but it's a science, because if you take those off, now you got to adjust the height of your posts. You got to look at your truss rod adjustment. You got to look at their like I said, shims underneath the neck or not. There's a bunch of stuff you got to take into consideration. But if you can play that game and go back and forth a little bit and find the sweet spot, because I like a nice low action. It's just amazing. Music therapy. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Davey Boy, nicest VH tribute room I've seen. Very well done. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Let's see. You got to hold David Allen Wright. Steinberger. He was so cool to bring it out for me. Yeah, David's a cool guy. I was just talking to David Allen Wright the other day. Out of all the Kramers or any Bone Music Mans and the Peavies, what do you like to play from each one? What do you like to play? You mean like what song, Andrew, or do you mean what I like to play? If you're talking about the Kramers, it would be my 5150 would be my go-to. The Peavies would probably be my red standard, and the Music Mans would probably be my amber EVH. And with the Music Mans, I'm sorry, my amber EVH. And the EVH, I have a USA Stealth and I have a USA Tour Relic. Probably the Stealth, I'd say. Yeah. Do it for time. We got about 15 minutes more and we'll go. It's been great to see all the cool stuff, to see you. I'm putting in the kids. Oh, Alan, have a good night, bud. Say good night to the kiddos. Thank you for jumping in. There's no way we're going to get through all the guitars. We're not even through half of them yet, but part 2, right? Thank you for jumping in. Ed used a Wolfgang red quilt with a trans trim. What guitar is that? Red quilt with a trans trim. He had a special white one for Fire in the Hole, and a black one that he played on the record, and white he played live. I'm trying to think what guitar you're talking about. Drawing a blank here. Welcome to Rob 15 to the guitar porn. I love Phil X's Franken SG. Great guitar. Yeah, that is cool. Do you still have the Lynch guitar? No, Joke Riddler. Joke Riddler. Kyle Broughton has it, and he's in the chat here. We got to talk him into getting it back to me again. I miss it. 5150 has simply got a certain vibe that no other guitar has ever over the 84. I totally agree. It's just an incredible one. Does anyone have the Dragon Snake guitar Ed used for a while? Well, Charles, welcome. Yes, we do. And you want to see it? I'll show it to you. Or maybe you're talking about the real one. Ed still has the real one. So us fans have to build our own. And this is what you come up with. The Dragon Snake. So Ed's original one started out as a black Explorer with a Dan Electro neck, which ended up on the Star guitar. And for whatever reason, Ed decided to have a gentleman by the name of John Sterry carve it out and paint it into a dragon biting a snake, hence the snake dragon. It had a Charvel V-trim on it. I think it's a Charvel V-trim. This is a Floyd Rose, a newer version FRT1, which I painted the base and just added different saddles and bent the bar straight and put a gold tip on just to look like a Charvel V-trim. I think it's a Seymour Duncan, lock body actually, and a lock neck. And it started out without a Floyd and then ended up with a Floyd, a black Floyd. So what I did is I put a Floyd on mine and just made the Floyd look like a Charvel V-trim. And yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. This is also a guitar I never thought I'd have. This was painted by RCA Guitars, Jeff Rich. And on the back of the real one, it looks just like that. And it says John Sterry, and I had him do Jeff Rich. Big brass block. Brass, Bobby. I know, I got to put steel on there, right, buddy? And Ed's is. That was a tweak that Locke made. It used to be straight, and then we found out that this was actually arced. But yeah, what a cool guitar this is. Brought this to EVH-Con a few years ago, and Joe Suma, my good buddy Joe Suma, played Light Up the Sky on it. Very cool. So yeah, here it is. Rob, can we see the Sustainer PV if you still have it? Why, yes, I do. That is also one of my favorite guitars. I don't play it very often, but it is one of my favorites. And you guys are gonna die when you see what I did to it, because this is a real. I got this big stupid thing from 04 Ed had in his. This is a real PV Wolfgang Special USA Deluxe. So hard to find these green ones. This is a real one. I've owned two of them. This is the second one I've owned. I got this off my good friend Nestor. And yeah, so it's got the Wolfgang pickup. This is the guitar Ed smashed in 04 in the last Tucson show. And it's in private hands now, and it's very playable. Ed had this big monstrosity on there because when he played, he'd have the cord coming out and it would loop through here, and just got it out of the way because he wasn't wireless at the time. He was playing with a cord, which I never understood. But yeah. And he's got the hardware store stickers on it. This guitar, Ed's original, had an original German Floyd, which this one has too. A lot of people don't know that. But Fernandez Sustainer, single coil, what Ed had. This is a 9-volt. Ed's was a 18-volt. Ed had 2 batteries in his. Mine's only 1, but still, thing sounds awesome. If you can see my Instagram page, you'll see me videos of kind of messing around with this thing. This thing just sustains for days. It's awesome. I love this guitar. It's a great guitar. Ooh, almost in tune too. So how you set up is for the Sustainer. This is your pickup selector. One of these switches I think it's this one, turns it on, and then this switch up is the sustain. It makes a sustain like a chord, and down turns it into a infinite harmonic. So you just hit a note and it turns it into like a pinched harmonic that sounds infinite. All right, what else we got? Ed would wear out the fine tuner tightness and would replace base plates constantly. That does not surprise me. I'll bet he did, especially before the detuners, like when he played Unchained. before the detuners, Ed, he did not unclamp the nut to tune the low E string. What you do is you just bury the fine tuner almost all the way down. Tune it, fine tune it almost all the way down. Start with it all the way down, then tune it, and then get your E, and then you can quickly go to D just by backing it off. That's how we used to do it. So I can see why you wore those out. What else we got here? Change the pitch in the arm vise to the likes of the Floyd arm. I hated the stiffness on the arm. Me too, Holiday. I feel the same way. I do all that to most of my guitars too. Good music there. Be glad you're doing good, buddy. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. David Allen Wright is the go-to for anything GL2T. That guy, David Allen Wright is like an over-engineer. He's like a Ned Steinberger. The guy just is incredible. He's got CAD files on almost anything you can imagine, Eddie Van Halen. How does a Dragon guitar play? Pretty good, pretty good. It's a FRT1, so it's a pain in the ass because, there's no fine tuners, so you got to play that game. You got to kind of anticipate where these are going to be, because typically when you lock a Floyd down, the B and the G string mostly will go sharp sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes, depending on how you have your string retainer set. So you got to kind of play this game, but once you get it set, it's good. You're very welcome, Charles. What else we got? Did you smash it? I did not smash it. This is definitely one that I'm not going to smash. But I did drill that big stupid hole in there and jam this thing in there, which brings tears to most people's eyes. But hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? Fernandez does make good stuff. Robbie says, I got my grail neck from Mancuda. Yeah, Jonathan Mancuda, great guy. He's got some cool stuff. That guy's got some awesome guitars. I haven't talked to John in a while. Let's see. Holly Lewis, happy holidays, Robin family. Thank you. We're going to get ready to wrap it up here. Let me pick a guitar that I'll show you guys. Let me see if I can pick something that might surprise you. Let's see. Oh my goodness, so many to pick from. All right, I got one. Just because you don't see it very often. And you hear the guy's voice in the background. I know you all do. Here's kind of a fun one. This is a guitar that I wanted to do for a long time. This is a brand new Beretta. Brand new Kramer Beretta, one of the newer ones, which they don't even come close to what the old ones were, in my opinion. Great guitars. I mean, I love them. I love Kramer. I always have, always will. Favorite guitar, but they're not like the old ones. But I got this from my good buddy Joe Suma, who's yellow, and I sourced all of the stickers to make them as close to what Sammy had. That came pretty cool. I got the Bondurant sticker. I got the Bogus Otis sticker, the 55. Obviously, the OU812. This is not space tape. It's actually just red stickers. Let's see. What did I do? I used some really heavy automotive paint, and I painted the hardware. Sammy's is a. I think Guy Fuhrer has it now. I think he gave it to him, but. Sammy's has a pointy headstock. This is a banana, no big deal. And he didn't have a truss rod here either, but I did. So I painted the string retainer, the nut, and the tuners. And with heavy duty red paint, I painted the pickup and I painted the Floyd. And it came out great. And I used some Futone red springs in the back. Oh, Robbie, I'm killing myself. I got another big brass block in here, and that's steel. It's harder to find those big steel blocks. McGuire does have them, though. And so does Kyle from Guide Bomb. This is a great guitar. Plays great. I've always loved this Hagar guitar, the yellow OU812 guitar. If anybody has any footage of Sammy playing, I have pictures of him playing it, and we've all seen it. But I've only seen him play the black one and the red one from Live Without a Net. But he was a big Kramer guy because Eddie got him into it. But I've never seen footage of him playing this. I have pictures of him playing it, like I said. But if anybody has any footage of Sammy playing this, I'd love to see it. I think he played it obviously in the OU812 tour. Back in OU812, he only had the 55 sticker on. He didn't have any of these other ones on. These came probably in the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, I did the mods on this, and it plays great. It's kind of a fun guitar, something I've wanted to do for a while. 7/8, what's going on, Jay? Let's see. Guitar Man 45 says, here's a question. Did any of these guitars go with you on the honeymoon? Well, we haven't had the honeymoon yet. Interesting you say. We're planning the honeymoon in Cabo San Lucas in February. That's where we're going to go. I've never been there. I've always wanted to go. And my wife she's up for it. So she's like, let's go to Cabo. I'm like, you got it. So we're going to do Cabo hopefully in February. We got to start planning it. We just took a week off because we have her kids and stuff. So it was a little bit difficult to, get a ton of time off. But so no, but one of them probably will be going to Cabo. Probably 50 and 50. Eat them raw, Kurt. Robbie says, we made 5 yellow and 5 red and 2 black for Sammy. Nice. 5 yellows. That's awesome. Yeah, he loved those. I noticed one thing in the early 90s, one of the black OU812 guitars, Sammy had OU812 down here. What he did was Ed had switched to Music Man, so Sammy hacked off a chunk of the headstock and put a tuner down there to make it look like a Music Man. Kind of interesting stuff, kind of geeky information. All right. I say get the tools and just make the hardware, brass blocks, nuts, whatever. Rob, I will be in Cabo February 1st. Rob, I will be in Cabo February 1st. Any chance? There is now that I know you're going to be there. We're looking to plan it. So, yeah, let's chat, bud, because maybe we can hook up that one. Since you couldn't make the wedding, we maybe can hook up on the honeymoon. Not you and me hook up on the honeymoon. I know you're like that. You're kind of weird like that. But no, I'm not doing that, Kurt. No. I'll see you, but I'm not hooking up with you on the honeymoon. Kurt and I go back and forth. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about that. I'm not going to call him Dad, even if there's a fire. Let's talk about it. Lane Wisdom, I have a random question. Do you think Ed tightened the springs in the back of his guitars to make trem bars a little harder to push? As far as I can tell, that would be the case. Lane, I've actually heard that before. Because the way he played, he rested his palm on the bridge. I've heard Ed had there's pictures where he does have the screws cinched right down, just like this one. If you use 2 springs, you have to have the screws cinched down usually, especially if you're using a big, heavy steel block or a brass block, because it's just bigger, so it takes more pressure on the springs. If you use 3 springs, you don't have to have them that way, but I've always liked 2, and Ed pretty much mostly always liked 2 himself on his Kramers and his Music Mans. There's some guitars he has 3, but that was mostly in the later days. I think he had the screws cinched down mostly because he only used 2 springs, and with a big steel block, you have to have them cinched down in order to be able, so it doesn't pull the bridge up and it's out of tune floating. To get it to do that, you would have to have them that way. But I did hear that Ed's bar was very hard to push down, or harder than some, because the way he played, he didn't want it to sound like a warped record. That's why he never liked floaters. Except the Steinberger Transtrem was a floating bridge, of course. What color Wolfgang Standards have you owned? PVs, Mike? Oh my gosh. I've owned patent pending blacks, like the Humans Being guitar, just like this song playing. Patent pending blacks, patent pending ivories, reds, tobaccos, purples, let's see, standards I'm talking about. What else? Pretty much just black, ivory, red, tobacco, purple. I've owned multiple of those too. And now I have, I have the red, I have the purple, I have the tobacco. Tobacco's a patent pending. Purple's a patent pending. They're all flames. And I also have the green deluxe, and what else? Oh, and the striped special. I don't know if you guys can see it. But yeah, I've owned a bunch of PVs over the years. Cool Breeze says, how do you know how many springs to use? Kind of depends. It's a feel. If you're talking about a Floyd guitar, I've always liked 2. That's just my preference. Kind of because Ed did, but I don't like the bar to be real hard. I like it to be kind of smooth. I want a definite, I want basic, contact on the body, but it's a preference. It's kind of like someone saying, what kind of strings do you want? You use 9s or 10s? I mean, I always like 9s on Floyd's because it's just easier for me to play. Do you like high action, low action? I like low action. Some people hate low action. It's kind of feel. Regardless whether you use 2 springs or 3, either one will work. It just depends on how tight you have your trem claw set. All right. It's been 2 hours. I want to say, oh, everybody wants some. Shreddy, what's going on? What's up, Joe? Oh my gosh, he made it. We're ending right now, unfortunately, though. It's been 2 hours. We started at 8, but scroll back, bro. We got some fun stuff. My good friend Shreddy Van Halen, Joe, also lives in Massachusetts, like me. Plays in Everybody Wants Some, great band. He's also a good friend of CHS Customs. Incredible guitar player. Love watching him play. He's seen the collection, but he's never been to the newer place here. So we're going to get together hopefully before Christmas. But thanks for jumping in, bud. But yeah, scroll back. I just want to say we'll do this again. Folks that want to be in touch with me, if you get me on Messenger or if you get me on Instagram messages, those are probably the couple of best ways to get me. I am on TikTok, although I don't check my messages on TikTok as much. But yeah, reach out to me that way. If you have my personal cell, you can text me too. But if there's anything you guys want to see, any particular guitar, I'd like to kind of get back to doing what I was doing a few years ago, which is actually picking a guitar and going through the whole history of it. Like when Ed played it, what he did to it. Frankies always are fun to do that with. But the Frankie's kind of been overstimulated. It never gets old, but I can still do that. Love that G chord. Got to hear that G chord in Main Street. Copyright. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Let's do this again. We'll talk about a bunch of different guitars, and let me know what you want to see and what you want to talk about. And I'll have some guests on. I'm going to try to do another show before Christmas time. And I just want to say, everybody in the chat, if I missed anybody's questions, I apologize. I tried to get through to everybody. And if there's a particular guitar that you want to see, next time, like, the Kramer Ad Frankie, the blue headstock Frankie, the Vetus, the striped Ripley, the multi-tape guitar, the Red Cloud, any of the Music Mans, the number 4, the 918V Kramer, Frankie's, Bumblebees, Rude, Hot for Teacher mini guitar, Shark, a whole bunch of them. The last one, I'll just show you real quick. I thought this was kind of cool. I'll end with this. Make it quick. This is a Kramer Pacer, original with a Rockinger on it. And it's got the Lawsuit Kramer headstock Strat style. Robbie, you'd recognize this. This is a 1981 Pacer B series. And the neck on this thing is like super thin. It almost feels like paper. I got this from Tommy Coletti off Music Zoo, good buddy of mine. you know, Ami, how you doing? If you ever see this, great guy, great store. Original 1981 Kramer. This is a great pacer. And Gatto tuners, gold. I mean, you just gotta love those old Kramers. So with that, we'll go out. But I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If I don't see any of you, I want to thank you guys. Boner Jams, what's up, buddy? How you doing? I want to say thank you for jumping in, watching the show, and all the questions. Let's keep doing this. I've been doing these a long time, but I want to get back into doing them. Like I said, we'll have some guests. Yeah, Robbie, Pacer Special 81, baby, Rockinger. A lot of people don't like those bridges. I kind of like them. I mean, they're not. I don't like them as much as the Floyd, but I don't despise them. I kind of, if you get them set up right, they're actually not that bad. But at least for me, anyways. But I really appreciate everything, you guys. I appreciate you guys following me. Reach out to me, and yeah, let's do it again. And I just love all you guys for all your input, and this is what keeps this Van Halen thing alive. I love doing these guitars. I love talking about them. I love playing them. I love building them. I love painting them. I love tweaking them, ripping them apart, you know. And yeah, let's just keep the love going. There's so many folks out there that do these shows, and there's just so much more to go around. And I really appreciate everything, you guys. Yeah, I'll see you soon. Rock on, guys. Thank you so much. Love you all.